Hey folks, Chris, once again, welcome back to a video. Somebody has another request assigned from Felix, and he wanted me to review an episode of Goosebumps. Our first Goosebumps review. Now, I reviewed 2 episodes of The Haunting Hour, but I want to mix it up a little bit. I'm going to do 3 videos a day, which is a review, a reaction, and a prop review. And when on my reviews of Earl Stein's The Haunting Hour, I'm going to do Goosebumps every once in a while too. That way I can space it out a bit. I can review both. And let me know how you guys like that, because I think it's a good, thing to do. But Brian wanted me to review the episode of Goosebumps called The Headless Ghost. And now, I remember watching this episode a lot as a kid, and it scared me when I first saw it. And looking back at it, it's alright. Now, if you don't know the story about the Headless Ghost, it's based on the R.L. Stine's Goosebumps books, obviously. One of R.L. Stine's Goosebumps books, obviously. It's basically about this kid named... Sorry, I got a text there. But it's about this kid named Andrew. He's in his room, he's looking for a ghost. And he looks under his bed, and it's a cat. He looks up, and there's like this silhouette of the kid. It's a really cool shot of the silhouette of the kid, and the ghost like coming to him, and it takes him and rips his head off, and it doesn't show it obviously, but the tour guy, he's going on this tour on this haunted house named Otto, and he's basically telling the story about Andrew, the boy who lost his head. And they're in the house that he was in, and since then, the ghost of Andrew wanders his halls looking for his head. And he's telling a story, and all of a sudden, this girl comes out with like a monster hand and grabs this little girl, and they get kicked out. After that, the girl's like, why don't we look for Andrew's head? Do an investigation, like a paranormal investigation of the Headless Ghost. So they come back to the house, and they sneak into the sea captain's lair, which is another ghost. And they hear footsteps, and they go into the closet. And the Otto catches him again, and he kicks him out again. And he's like that, and that was the last straw. He kicks him out for good this time. He's like, "Oh, you are no longer in Hill House. You have no respect." And then the girl throws like a Stephanie, that's the girl's name, and she throws like a snowball at the door. And then they bump into this creepy pale kid named Seth. He's like, hey, I can help you look for the Headless Ghost. And then Dwayne, which is the other kid, Stephanie's brother, I guess. And he's like, I'm not sure. And then Stephanie's like, really? Come on, man, grow some balls. So he's like, okay, yeah, man. And they go back inside the house. They sneak in there, and they're going through the house. And they go through this one room in the Hill House, the haunted attraction, the house. And there's like this dumbwaiter, and Seth basically tells a story about this kid who liked ice cream. And he kept asking for ice cream every day, all day. And then one day, the waiter stopped working. So the kid looks down, and he falls and he cracks his head open, and then the Seth kid's like, ever since when the maid came, you can tell the looks between the boy's face and a strawberry ice cream, and then Seth's like, and then Dwayne's like, oh, the kids are kind of freaked out by the story, and then they go to his house or this room, and Seth walks them in there, and they're like, what the hell, man? And then Seth's like, my name isn't Seth, it's Andrew. And then he's like, and then Seth, he's like, wait, you're Andrew? But Andrew wants to say, he's like, this isn't my head. I borrowed it. I want to return it. So I want a new head, and guess what, Dwayne? I want yours. And then it was really good acting by this kid, Seth, telling him how much he wants to rip off Dwayne's head, and he's like, quick twist and come around, snap, just like a chicken leg. and then Dwayne's like, no man, the hair doesn't do what we want it to, and I'm not good at math. And he's like, no, I still want your head, so hold it still. And then Dwayne goes to this other door, gets out of there, and right before our eyes, there's Andrew's head. And I'm not gonna lie, the effects in this scene were actually pretty decent. I mean, you see Andrew's head, and the neck is like off. And I don't know if they used a green screen or animatronic head, but that looked really good. And then you see the headless ghost behind the two, and the camera pans over and he's walking towards you. He's like, and then he goes to his head and he picks it up and he drops it. And yeah, you can tell it's a mannequin head. It doesn't look that real, but I mean, it's a low budget show. Then he picks his head back up and he disappears. This is probably and the effects, like I said, were good. You can tell when he had no head, you can tell it was like a green screen, like on top of here, but it still looked really good. It was very creepy. Very scary scene for a kid's show, but the fact that it was a kid, like, wow. Arson doesn't hold back when it comes to violence towards kids, that's for sure. I mean, the haunting hour especially, very dark. So she's like, oh, and then she goes to Seth, and they're like, so if you're Andrew, then you're not, so if you're not Andrew, then who the fuck are you? And then Otto comes, and he's like, I'll tell you who he is. He's a prankster just like you kids. Now, why don't you leave while we take care of it? Stephanie, I'm like, oh shit. Where the fuck is this going? And so then Dwayne leaves, and then 7 years back around, and Otto is a ghost. He's the sea captain at the house that room belonged to. And then Seth appears, and he's a ghost, and guess what? He was the ice cream boy. I'm like, oh my god. I mean, I can see it coming a mile away, but that's pretty shocking. But then Andrew appears again with carrying his head, and he paints. He's painting Stephanie, and then Stephanie is turning into a ghost. Because they have portraits of all the people who died, like Andrew, Seth, and all those, which are Easter eggs. Easter eggs I didn't notice until this time viewing. So they're doing added Stephanie to that collection, which is pretty evil. And then Dwayne hears her screaming, and he comes in and he throws a bucket of paint at the painting, and the two ghosts, the two kids, Andrew and Seth, they disappear. And then Otto gets real pissed, and he's like, ah! And then the camera pans and ah! And then Stephanie and Dwayne run, and that's the end. You don't know how the hell they got away, but and then Otto's back, and he's showing another couple the Hell House. End. So yeah, I enjoyed this episode, but I found this episode scarier as a kid. But I still enjoyed it. I thought the effects were fun. The headless ghost looked decent. The ghost story about Seth, the ice cream boy, was pretty creepy. And yeah, I think all around was really good. I mean, a lot of people say the actor playing Andrew wasn't that good. I'm like, yeah, but he's a kid. Just like with Storm Norm in the episode, the kid wasn't that great, but he's a fucking kid. Can't be too mad at him for that. But like I said, the acting was good. It was the only creepy in some scenes, and yeah, I enjoyed this episode. I thought like I said, I thought it was pretty enjoyable. And if you're a Goosebumps fan, and you haven't seen it, go see it. And I believe Goosebumps and The Haunting Hour are free on Netflix. I watched all these hours Haunting Hour and Goosebumps because I own them all on DVD. But I believe both shows are on Netflix. So if you have Netflix, then go check them out. But yeah, that's basically it. So with that said, thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you guys later. Bye bye.